right, so welcome into Philadelphia Walks PTSD. My name is Sharon Cole, or Sharon or Cole, whatever you want to refer to me as. No big deal. In a good way. I don't care. Like I say every day, rat, pig, horse, cow, squirrel, dinosaur, lizard, rhino, hippo. Um, whatever they mean to various people doesn't matter because everybody has a different definition depending on what gang, cult, religious sect, or ideology group you belong to. And an ideology would basically be a belief system, if you will, among a certain group of people. Whereas, say, like a milieu would be almost, I guess it's meme-ish, but it's more like an era during a certain time period, people believed in certain things. So anyway, we have a little bit of ruckus over here next door, off to my north side. And that's the south side, that's the north side. And anyway, hopefully we can get through this without too much interruption. So today is day 119 of my one video each day, 365 day video campaign, raising money for a life lost, robbed, stolen. The ability to function normally and in a happy and productive way as possible. I'd love to be eating out, get together with a friend or two for dinner every once in a while. I'd love to go on vacations. I have never really been on a formal vacation other than during childhood. Do you believe that? Holiday dinners, I would have loved to have done a little bit more. Growing up a child of divorce, of course, that sort of puts a rift into things and it becomes like more of a, I guess, I don't know, obligatory would be a bad word to use, but it's this thing where children really are heavily affected. They are shuffled back and forth. And it becomes a thing of like everybody has their own idea of who's influencing who more or who's in whose ear or more. And they're usually wrong, which is hilarious to watch people who are like, she's telling her this. And it's like, actually, that's not true. You guys are paranoid over here with all the money. So anyway, coming on here today with a very specific part or section of the 72,000 layer cake of harassment and torture. But I'll start with my usual, the fourth Monday of January 2011. I was made to believe I'd been murdered in my apartment. It was a series of orchestrated events that unfolded that made me believe this. So somebody actually put a lot of effort. And we are talking possibly low budget filmmakers. I don't think I'm all that in a bag of chips. I just know somebody got away with, or they thought they got away with something big time. And they played into it big time with all kinds of equipment all over the place. I didn't think much about it. I would walk around and think, oh, they must be laying down a lot of cable. There's a sexual connotation. Laying that cable. Of course, it's either a yucky bathroom reference or it could have a sexual connotation as well. But we have a lot of contractors, a lot of satellite vans, a lot of companies who are putting underground cables in along 19th Street in 2010 and 11. And these utility trucks are just around constantly. And it either fed the paranoia that they induce, or they actually use the equipment. Daylight come and we want to go home. Stop it. No, get out. What if those words were actually used against you? It's supposed to be funny and cute, like, stop it. No way, stop it, get out. What if somebody actually meant it? It's sort of like that credit card commercial where the friends go out and the friend took you out simply to get the bonus points on their credit card. They didn't even care about you. What if it's actually meant more deeply? And you're thinking people are being funny and cute because most innocent people would think like, oh, that's too funny. Get out, stop it. Then Whole Foods had 1 year, and this was, I don't know, 2015, 16 or so, on their bags, it said, get out. But people started using the bags for messaging purposes. Get the fuck out. We don't like your kind here. The thing is, you have no idea what kind you are because you didn't really bother anybody. You don't like people who don't bother anyone? You don't like a sweet person who's like, how do I get by? Okay, now what do I have to do to earn money? Now, do I have to start prostituting? I actually considered it. Because aren't half the wives prostitutes? The stay-at-home wives? Someone could argue that. I actually considered it and found a book while working at Giovanni's Room bookstore. And it was different levels of prostitution. Now, if you're on drugs and hurting, it becomes like a necessity, and maybe you want payment in drugs. Or there's the next layer, or another layer, or another layer. And in the men's world, they can get away with it more, and gay men can get more business than a lesbian could, because women don't really pay for sex. They're used to getting paid for it, right? And in the gay world, even better, because you have all kinds of people who might not totally be gay, but they're wondering if there's a benefit to learning how to do certain things. That would be like the darkest side. This is not to negate people who actually have healthy relationships, whatever community you're in. I want to know what it's like to. Everybody's bored with their wives. They're all fat, sitting there washing the dishes. I'm kidding. I'm not. I'm kidding. I'm just saying this is what came up. And I read a book and I was like, oh, so there are people who have a lot of control as a prostitute, and they communicate a certain way, and they're the ones in control. If they decide to call it off, done. You have to, just showing up, you have to pay. The prostitute lays down all the rules. They lay down a location. They tell you everything that's going on. They live in a special dwelling or building, say. So there's all kinds of witnesses of you coming in. And you have to be okay with coming in seeming like a, I don't know, business acquaintance or whatever. I thought this was interesting. I actually considered it because I didn't want to be someone who was asking someone for money. And I was trying to figure out, where do you get work around here? Guess what? Don't pursue writing. Don't pursue an English degree unless you're okay teaching a bunch of assholes, because it's rare to be able to teach at a higher level. That's actually kind of rare. And guess who hogs up those jobs? Ivy League people who already have connections and money. So if you're relegated to having to teach in like a high school or K through 12, pain and suffering every day, unless you're the babysitting type, because that's basically what's going on. I substitute taught, and what happened? Oh, this is basically babysitting, and you can give a lesson, but how are kids actually learning? That's weird. How about all those behavioral management issues in public school? Oh, so you don't even need you need a degree. You don't need a degree to be a substitute teacher. That is correct. You can substitute teach at a lower cost without an official degree. If you like that kind of thing. These days, you need a behavioral management background big time. You would have to deeply understand very damaged communities. But anyway, with that said, and speaking of someone who seems to maybe understand damaged communities, probably not. I had a distant-ish relative who was convenient, who is never available any other time. Any other time I would have felt rejected. I just gave up on these people. I was like, well, it's not even worth trying to reach out to these people, he and his wife or whatever, because emails wind up in spam or they just never call you back. Maybe they're afraid to talk openly or out loud, even though this person does work, so he has to speak at work. But conveniently available when I'm scared out of my apartment. And what are the comments that I get? And this, for about a week and a half, this person was conveniently available. Actually, just 4 days. That's right. Thank you. Somebody who's never available. And you feel totally rejected by people who are just like, is it a game they play? They're not winning. There are people who think they're winning and they're not. I can see. And what did this person say? One thing that came up was, well, just, of course, you must have a good imagination. That is completely negating someone's experience. I didn't have an imagination. Whatever this was, I would have never thunk it. I would have never thought of this. Never. I have I'm a good writer, but from a nonfiction standpoint, I can't even write fiction. It's too much for my brain to create all these lies. Like, no offense to fiction writers. I know it's a way for people to escape the world, to be able to read a good fictional story and so forth and so on for a certain demographic. Someone wants me to say level, but I don't want to offend people because I totally get it. Reading helps people escape the suckiness of reality sometimes. I actually cannot make up stuff. My soul actually hurts if I were to make something up, even if it's for the purpose of just a fictional book that's actually called fictional, and technically it's okay in that platform to do that. I have to report my experience. It actually hurts me. Like, no, because, and if you're in the job of reporting, if you report something, if you kind of go off in a different direction, or it's hard to explain, like if after you get highly skilled, don't put that in because that's going to backfire. Like, technically it messes up the actual truth of what's going on. So I didn't have the imagination. I don't know what to say. Or your eyes are playing tricks on you. Nope. Nice one though. It's for lower level people. Nothing bad's happened yet, right? Just keep going. Nothing bad's happened. Nothing bad has happened. You're worried about people like trying to set you up to look like a criminal or this, that, and the other, but nothing bad's happened. The thing is, something did bad happen. Someone violated my entire soul, mind, body, and soul, spirit, my apartment, my entire life, walking around trying to walk dogs. I was terrorized on a second-by-second basis by people who seem to have nothing better to do. I am a prisoner of war level tortured victim, and it doesn't look like it. That's how well it can be hidden. I should look like a drug addict in Kensington. Based on the level of torture I've experienced, I should look like them. Someone probably wished I wound up there, because there are people who wish I looked like, I'll just say they wished I was hurting as much as another family member of mine. It's like someone wanted to come in with a bowling ball and just knock these two sisters down. Who wanted to come in to ruin us, the most vulnerable? A single female and her two daughters trying to make it. A mom without a college education who showed up to work every day. What was there to say that was bad about my mom? How much nicer could she be as a person? How much more oppressed does a woman have to be to satisfy the greedy bastards out there who know they got away with stealing a lot of money? And I mean a lot. While trying to damage and hurt my sister and I. Actually see her as a victim at this point from many years ago. And other people have experienced her differently. Totally fine. I just know that people came along and we're going to kick you in the shins and knock you down if you don't appreciate us, you ungrateful bitches. And you're like, I don't know how else to show my gratefulness for being alive. I'm so grateful to be alive. I green juice. Nothing bad's happened yet. Really? I want to know how much that relative knows to even know to say that. Somehow he knew to say something that was very apropos and too good of a comment, meaning It fit in too much. Well, nothing bad's happened yet, right? Well, actually, yes. This is so bad. All of you people who are guilty could have wound up in federal prison. Do you hear me? And you think you're in control. You should join a therapy group. Same person. You should join a therapy group. I always tell my wife this because of some weird thing that she experiences. Very sexist. Do we keep our wife at home? Now, some women go out into the world. Maybe they come back. They're like, it sucks. Hey, if you're willing for me to be a stay-at-home wife, ding. Totally get that. I would take it in a heartbeat. Now, after having been around the block 5 million times, both literally and figuratively, I have had so many jobs and have worn so many hats. And I have actually physically been around the blocks in Philadelphia 5 million times. Dog walking. I was wondering if people out in the universe were keeping track of how many miles on my bike, how many miles I walked, how many times I locked and unlocked my bike, lock, unlock, 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 lock, unlock. How many times I had to put up with people who were dumb and never once considered how hard dog walking actually is. It seems easy. We don't want to get into the list of things that can come up to ruin a dog walker's ability to get the job done, how much crap shows up, how far people are willing to go to feed their dogs laxatives just to see you pick up a diarrhea shit. So many crazy things happened. It's ridiculous. It's like these people wanted to get into the evil club. It is bizarre. It is on the edge of, what's wrong with people? Are they actually like mentally retarded and they're showing up to Vanguard for work? Oh, did they just have a protest outside Vanguard? I wonder why. Anyway, there's so much more to say, but I wanted to hit on those points without being too long-winded. It usually winds up long-winded because I'll remember things, and this happens like in therapy. It's like you're hurting, and things will start to, once you loosen all the calcified junk, things will start flying out so that you can heal from it. But anyway, I would suggest the guy who suggested that his wife should join a therapy group, or maybe I should join one. I think he should really wind up in federal prison. Or I think his workplace should be investigated for what it's actually doing while pretending to be a major behavioral group serving the underprivileged, or taking advantage of them, or serving them, or taking advantage of them, or serving them, or taking advantage of them, or serving them. They think they're playing God. Oh, we're going to deprogram, that which put them in this position to begin with. Or we're going to use them while we barely do any work. We're going to put them in certain roles to make them feel like they're important, even though they just rolled out from rehab. Can you imagine your no offense to people who are trying to get better, but can you imagine you're here, you're like, oh, I'm all proud I got this job. I'm in this role. I went to school for this as a social worker or a therapist or whatever. And your coworker is someone who thinks they're the boss of you. Meanwhile, on the weekends, they're still thinking about shooting up. And you're like, I don't want to have to work with so-and-so. She's rolling in, can barely speak, can't even read. She's acting like a fool all the time. And I think she's still on drugs and she thinks she's my boss. It's hilarious.